All right. Good morning and welcome to Miss Walker's Storytime. Today, I think you're going to enjoy what we have. We are going to be reading again from Junie B Jones. All right, so I'm going to switch screens up now so that you guys can see Junie B Jones. And we are diving back in chapter 4 of Junie B Jones and the Stupid Smelly Bus. So let's get to where we left off on chapter 4. Me and Lucille and some of the other kids. Some of the other bus kids turned out to be in my class too. One of them was that Jim. That Jim I hate. Mrs. made us line up, and when we followed her to our room, its name was room 9. There were other kids waiting by the door. When Mrs. unlocked it, everyone squeezed in all at once. Jim stepped on my new shoe. He made a scratch mark on my shiny shoe. The kind of scratch that licking won't fix. "Hey, watch it, you dumb Jim," I hollered at him. Mrs. bent down next to me and said, "Let's try to use our quiet voice when we're in school," she said. I nodded nicely. "I hate that Jim," I said in my quiet voice. After that, Mrs. clapped her hands together very loud. "I want everyone to find a chair and sit down as fast as you can," she said. That's when I ran to a table with a little red chair. Guess what? There were already someone sitting there, the little girl with red fingernails, and I tapped and said, "I would like to sit there, I think." "No, I am." "Yeah, only I already picked that chair out," I told her. "Ask my mother if you don't believe me." But the little girl shook her head no, and Mrs. clapped her hands again and said, "Find a seat." So I had to quick sit down in a stupid yellow chair, the same stupid color as the stupid yellow bus. After that, Mrs. walked to the big closet in the back of the room. It's called a supply closet. She got out boxes of new pointy crayons and some white circles. Then she passed them out, and we had to print our names on the circles and pin them to our fronts. It was our first work. "If you need help spelling your name, raise your hand," said Mrs. I raised my hand. "I don't need help," I told her. "Grandma Millie says I print beautifully." I used red, but then a mistake happened. I made my Junie too big. There wasn't room left for my B. So I had to squish it in very teeny at the bottom. "I hate this stupid dumb circle," I hollered. Mrs. made the shh sound and gave me a new one. "Thank you," I said nicely. "Grandma Millis says I print beautifully." The little the girl with the little red fingernails was faster than me. She showed me her circle and pointed to the letters. Lucille. That spells Lucille, she said. "I like that, the name of Lucille," I said, "'cause why? Seals are my favorite animals, that's why." Mrs. passed out drawing paper and we drew pictures of our family. Mrs. put a happy face sticker on mine. It was very good. Except I made my father too tiny and my mother's hair looks like sticks. After that, Mrs. took our class on a walk around the school. Everyone had to find a buddy to walk with. My buddy was Lucille. We held hands. The boy, the boy I can beat up right in front of us. His buddy was Jim. I hate Jim. The first place we walked was called the Media Center. My mother calls it the library. That's where the books are. And guess what? Books are my favorite thing in the whole world. "There's a jillion of them here," I hollered very excitedly. "I think I love this place." The librarian bit down next to me and she said, "Use your quiet voice." "Yeah, but only guess what? Right now I have like just kinds of books with pictures. When my mother says I get big, I'm going to get the kind like with just words. And also stipweed tomatoes." The boy I can beat up said, "Shh." I made my fist at him and he turned around. After that, we went to the cafeteria. The cafeteria is where kids eat lunch, except when you're in kindergarten. It smells yummy in here, just like pasquini and meatballs. When Jim turned around and held his nose, "P.U., I smell you," he said. Lucille laughed very hard, so I stopped holding her hands. The next place we went was the nurse's office. It was a very cute place. There were two little beds that you get to lie down and two little blankets that are color of plaid. The nurse doesn't look like a nurse. She doesn't wear white clothes or white shoes. The nurse is just a regular color. Lucille raised her hand. My brother said last year he came off and you had let him take off his shoes and he got to drink water just in his socks. Jim turned around. P.U., I smell you, he said to Lucille. This time, Lucille stuck her tongue out at him. After that, we held hands again. Chapter 5 Principal. After we left the nurse, we went to the main office. That's where the boss of the school lives. His name is Principal. Principal is a baldy. He talked to us. Then Lucille raised her hand. My brother said last year he got in here and you yelled at him and he's not allowed to beat up kids at recess anymore. The principal kind of laughed. Then he held the door for us to leave. After that, we walked to the water fountain and Mrs. let us get a drink. I didn't get a long one though, because kids were tapping on me. Hurry up, girl, they said. Yeah, only guess what? That's not even my name. Her name is Junie Bumblebee, said Lucille. Then she left. I didn't think it was a very funny joke. After that, Mrs. showed us where the bathrooms were. There were two kinds of bathrooms in our school, a boys' kind and a girls' kind. I can't go in the boys' kind, though, because no girls allowed. That's why. I tried to peek my head in there, but Mrs. snapped her fingers at me. The only boy who got to go into the bathroom was a boy I can beat up. He was jiggling around very much. Then he started running all over the place and holding the front of his pants. William said, Mrs. You having an emergency? William yelled, Yes, and ran right in there. The rest of us walked back to our room. I touched Lucille's fingernails. She said that her fingernail polish was named Very, Very Berry. I would like to have my fingernails red too, I said. But I'm only allowed to have the kind of polish that makes them look shiny. Its name is clear. Clear is the color of spit. I hate clear, said Lucille. Me too, I told her. I also hate yellow, which was the color of the stupid, smelly school bus. Lucille nodded her head. My brother said that when you ride home on the school bus, kids pour chocolate milk on your head. Then all of a sudden, my stomach felt very squeezy again because I had to ride home on the bus. That's why. Why did you tell me that for, Lucille? I said kind of grouchily. After that, we got to room 9. We did some more work. It was a game to help us learn each other's name. I learned Lucille. I also learned a girl named Charlotte and another girl named Grace, and I learned a boy named Ham, which we eat at Grandma Miller's. Pretty soon, she clapped her loud hands together. Okay, everyone, gather up your things. It's almost time for the bell. Then I heard the noise in the parking lot. It was the squeaky brakes, and I looked out the window and saw the school bus. It was coming to get me. Oh no, I said kind of loud. Now I'm going to get chocolate milk poured on my head, and I chewed my fingers. Get in line, said Mrs. When we get outside, I want all of my best students to come with me. The rest of you go to the crossing guard. Everyone was lighting up. I was the last one. Just then the bell rang and Mrs. marched out the door. Then everybody else marched out too. And guess what? I didn't. Chapter 6 A Good Hider. When you're the very last one in line, nobody watches you. That's how come nobody saw me when I ducked behind the teacher's desk and hid. I'm a good hider. One time at Grandma Miller's house, I hid under her kitchen sink. And then I made a growly sound and sprung out at her. I'm not allowed to do that anymore. Anyway, I stayed scrunched behind the teacher's desk for a while. Then I saw a better place to hide. It was a big supply closet in the back of the room. So I ran there very fast and I squeezed into the bottom shelf. I squeezed right on top of the construction paper. Most of me was comfortable, except my head was sort of tight and my knees were all bended, like you do in a somersault. Then I pulled the door mostly closed. It didn't shut all the way, though. I I mean it, I said aloud. I stayed real quiet for lots of minutes. I heard noises down the hall, and some feet came to running in the room, and big feet asked, I think, what happened? I heard someone ask. One of my little girls is lost, sounded like Mrs. Her name is Junie B Jones, and she didn't get on the bus. So now we've got to go out looking for her. I heard some keys jingle and the feet went running away again, and then the door shut. But I still didn't come out of the closet, though. When you're a very good hider, you can't come out for a very, very long time. So I stayed there all bended up. I told myself a story, not an out loud story. I just told it inside my head. It was called The Little Hiding Girl. I made it up, and this is how it went. Once upon a time, there was a little hiding girl. She had a secret spot where nobody could find her, except her head was very tight and her brain was squishing out. But still, she couldn't come out of her spot, or the smelly yellow monster would get her, and also some meanies with chocolate milk. The end. After that, I rested my eyes. Resting my eyes is what Grandpa does when he watches TV after dinner, and then he snores, and then Grandma Miller says, "Go to bed, Frank." It's not the same thing as a nap, though, because a nap is for baby. That's why. Anyway, I didn't snore, but I did drool a little. Well, finally, my eyes were done resting and they woke up. So I came out of the closet and ran to the window. And guess what? There wasn't any cars in the parking lot and no stupid smelly bus either. Whew, what a relief, I said. The relief is when your stomach doesn't feel squeezy anymore. After that, I went back to the closet because while I was hiding, I sniffed the smell of clay. That's why. And clay was my favorite thing in the whole world. "Hey, I see it up there," I said. The clay was on the middle shelf. I stood on a chair. It was blue and stiff, and I had to roll it on the floor to make it soft and warm. And I rolled it into blue and orange. It was beautiful, except some dirt and hair on it. After I was done, I went to the front of the room and sat down in the teacher's chair. I liked the teacher's desk very much. The drawers are so big, but I couldn't fit in one, I think. I opened up the top one, and there were happy face stickers and rubber bands and also gold stars, which I loved a lot. I stuck one on my forehead. Then I found paper clips and red marking pens and new pencils with no points and scissors and travel tissues. And guess what else? Chalk. Brand new chalk that's not even out of the box yet. Then I stood up on the teacher's chair and clapped in the hands together. I want everyone to find a chair and sit down. Today we're
I don't hear you. Me either. I can't hear you. Me too, I can't hear you either. What? Where did she go? She left the meeting. What? No, there's no. I don't know why she left the meeting. Just said, are we done? We're going! No! We're going! Oh, I'm joking. Okay, I got a Nerf gun. I'm about to shoot it.
We're talking to each other.
I'm sewing. No, you're not. Not safe. Oh, landed in a bucket. Guns.
Oh my God.
It's weird that I started this all. Right, what? And then I said it, and then everybody else said it. We don't.
No,
Why are you? You're in the middle of a war. Yeah, I'm on there too.
how are you?
I can tell what he's doing. What about that king?
Let's say she fixed it.
I left the meeting, and I'm still on for some reason. Wait, it said you left the meeting? I know, but I'm still on. Well, I'm getting on right now. I can see you perfect. So weird.